It's bourbonblog.com live. We have some very special news that we're first to talk about and taste. I have my good friend, Hard Truth Distilling Company, Master Distiller Bryan Smith joining us there from Indiana. How's it going, Bryan?
Hey, Tom, doing awesome. How are you this evening?
Oh, so good, my friend. And thank you for letting me be the first to taste this new Hard Truth Indiana Rye, which again, it coincides with this new law that's about to go into being here in a few weeks. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. You know, we've got some of the great whiskey regions here in the U.S. and with Kentucky bourbon with the designation, of course, Tennessee whiskey, and something that we really feel strongly about is the real designation for Indiana Rye Whiskey, and having that being something that's protected and really celebrated here in the U.S.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to what a designation is, I mean, I understand it. I think a lot of people watching on Bourbon Blog are whiskey fans. They know what's going on. But why is a whiskey designation important? Like, and I even see the Indiana flag on the back of this.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So why is a designation so important?
You know, really, it comes down to protecting the image that you're establishing. So, you know, Indiana has a long tradition through several distilleries. One pretty big one down on the Ohio River in Lawrenceburg for creating really some of the highest quality rye whiskey in the United States.
Right.
And so, whenever you get a designation like this, what that does is it protects the statement Indiana Rye Whiskey. So with this law being signed in on July 1, you won't be able to, so when you go to create your label, you will not be able to put on your label Indiana Rye Whiskey unless it meets the following criteria.
Okay.
It was mashed, fermented, distilled, and aged for at least 2 years in the state of Indiana. So with this designation, we're not really excluding any of the, other distillers, be them craft or large distillers. What we're doing is we're really celebrating the fact that we believe Indiana makes some of the best rye whiskey in the world, including what we're making at Hard Truth Distilling Company.
That's right. And again, if you've never been to Hard Truth Distilling Company, Nashville, Indiana, and Brown County, they're doing a lot of great stuff there. Of course, we're talking about whiskey, but it is such a special experience. I see a lot of Hoosiers watching. I know Irene's a big follower of ours. She says it's very exciting for our state. It is definitely exciting for our state, and tourism and everything. I mean, what you all have done there at Hard Truth is something so spectacular for both spirits, whiskey, the whole experience, right?
Yeah, if you've not been to our property, we have 325 acres in beautiful wooded Brown County, Indiana. It's definitely a great place to have all kinds of experiences. You can come out with your family, come out with a group of friends. We will make sure that you have a great time when you visit, no matter who you're with. And, really with this celebration of Indiana Rye Whiskey, it was kind of one of those ideas that one of my partners brought up that just, sounded like a big, wild idea, but it just made so much sense. And so we reached out to Chris May, our state representative in the area, and he was really excited about it and said, let me go get this done for you. And man, the guy got it done. So we made sure, there's nothing in this designation that's controversial in any way. It's inclusive of all Indiana rye producers, and really having the state be a part of this and help to boost Indiana tourism, and put some dollars in visiting some places like Hard Truth Distilling Company, and really protecting the quality and the mark of Indiana Rye Whiskey.
Absolutely. And again, we're talking about really two main things. The first of all is the bigger law. It's the rule, which is going to be signed into law on the 3rd of July. At the same time, this particular whiskey to celebrate it is released. Is that right?
That's right. So yeah, so Chris May is going to come out to the distillery along with some other state representatives, and we're going to have an event at 11 a.m. on Saturday, July 3rd at Hard Truth Distilling Company. So if you've been out to the property, the little tours and tastings building that's out front, we're going to have live music, have some snacks, have some sampling, lots of cocktails, and it will be the first time and first place that you can buy this little beauty right here. So this
great.
This was
so wonderful ride
yeah.
here. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is a really this was a fun project. So this is a blend of 2 different rye mash bills that were distilled here in the state of Indiana. The age on this is 4 years old. We wanted to celebrate almost a bottled in bond type of release. So this is going to be 100 proof, 4 years old. And it is really tasty. So, we've got another rye whiskey out there, Sipes, our Sipes rye finished in the smoked barrel, which has been doing really well. It's a great rye whiskey. So this is really a departure. The flavor profile of this is it's got a lot of deep nuanced flavors, but for me, it's a lot more lively. It's very sweet, a nice little spice at the end. It's fantastic as a sipper. But man, our wonderful mixologists at the tours and tasting centers have just knocked it out of the park on some cocktails. So we'll be rolling out some cocktail features this month at all of our Big Woods locations and all of the Hard Truth locations, where you can come and try some delicious cocktails with this bad boy.
Yeah, and again, beautiful by itself. It has that wonderful zest. Some of that, it's some of that wild, really beautiful. I almost call, some ryes to me have I liken them, and I know not everybody does, but I liken some ryes to sort of that beautiful funk that you get in a good Caribbean rum. You get that beautiful zest, that note that's just something different, but something so lovely. This has a lot of that. It's well balanced. It has that zest.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful sipper. What kind of cocktails are you going to be making? Maybe you can tempt the people watching Indiana.
Sure.
Come be with you.
Absolutely. So they did a few classics, and then they kind of ranged out with some interesting ones. But they did I believe it's a maple bacon old fashioned with it. They did a twist on a julep, a mint julep with it, and then they did a highball with some muddled peach in it. It's crazy. I would never put those two together, but the muddled peach really and this rye play nicely together, because it's almost that like nutmeg and cinnamon spice that you put on a peach, whenever fresh summer peach. So it's tasty.
Well, just everything about Hard Truth. I mean, from your cocktails, your people, seeing you, your whole place. I mean, it's just the whole experience is really something special. So I will be there as well for any of y'all watching. Bryan will be there. I'll be really thrilled to see some great people that are whiskey lovers like I am coming to get a bottle of this. And is this just available at the distillery? Where is this going to be available?
So we've only got a few hundred cases that we're going to release to start with on this. Right. We were there's a lot of factors that led to that, but this is going to be a limited release at first. We plan to go a little bit wider in distribution with it later on in the year, but this is the first bottling, so you will be able to get it at all Big Woods locations. So if you're in Indianapolis, Edinburgh, West Lafayette, Bloomington, Nashville, you can pick up, or downtown Indianapolis, you can pick up a bottle of this, and of course at the distillery as well. Then we've got some limited distribution in the rest of the state of Indiana that will start the following week.
I mean, rye in general, of course, and again, definitely get a bottle of this. It's beautiful. This is something that is limited, so I can imagine, especially for those of you all in Indiana, you're going to want to have this. Like I said, it has the Indiana flag. This marks really a significant rye release and a classification designation for Indiana Rye. And again, this classification / designation, this is recognized throughout the U.S. It's not just for Indiana. This is when somebody buys a bottle of Indiana Rye, no matter where they are. This is something that's a federal designation, right?
That's right. So this is Indiana House Bill number 1396, which is also on there. So there's some of the bills, or some of the House bill is actually on there. What this does is this protects, again, that label designation. So if you put Indiana Rye on a label, it has to meet the criteria, that's supported by the state of Indiana.
Right, right. And again, tell us what designates it. What does it have to be to fall in line?
Sure. So we didn't, to start with, we really wanted to kind of cast the net wide and be as inclusive as possible. As you guys know, we've got a really robust and I feel like a little bit overlooked distillery surge happening in the state of Indiana. We've got our facility where we're laying down about 2,500 barrels of whiskey a year. We're expanding greatly, expanding a lot of our property. There are a lot of other great distilleries in the state of Indiana who are growing and producing some fantastic whiskeys and rums and gins and other products. And I think that, really raising up the state of Indiana is going to be good with this. So we didn't want to limit, by creating any kind of real weird, narrow designation. So just like the regular rye rules, it has to be at least 51% rye, has to be distilled at no more than 160 proof, has to be put in a barrel at no more than 125 proof, and again, it has to be mash fermented, distilled, and aged at least 2 years in the state of Indiana.
And those are the rules. We do have a question coming in from YouTube.
Sure.
What Linus asks, what makes Indiana rye so special in general? Is there a mash bill? Is there something about the water? I mean, beyond just what you're talking about for the designation, right, what else goes into making Indiana rye so delicious?
Back to our kind of at the beginning when I talked about really the quality marker. If you go out on the shelves and look at some of the great rye whiskeys that are in the market right now, and that people are giving amazing reviews on, and that are being enjoyed throughout the U.S. and throughout the world, if you turn that bottle around, a great majority of those are going to say distilled in Indiana. And the reason is there's a distillery that you guys know, the old Seagram's plant down in Lawrenceburg called MGP. They have been really making some of the best rye whiskey in the world for a good period of time. A lot of that knowledge, craftsmanship, know-how, tips and tricks, they spread out from a region. So, distillers are a very, we will compete like hell out in the market. But when it comes to crafting good whiskey, everyone helps each other out. So there's been a lot of knowledge and traditions and craftsmen that have been, that have radiated from that hub down in southern Indiana. And some of the rye whiskeys I'm tasting in Indiana are some of the best. So to answer your question, we are sourcing as many grains as we can from the state of Indiana. Actually, Doc Kuhlenschmidt down in Mount Vernon, Indiana, is growing a lot of our rye grain right now, so we can actually get our grain from the state of Indiana. Of course, Indiana has some great water, just like Kentucky does. Kentucky talks about their water, which they do have great water. Indiana, a lot of Indiana benefits from those same bedrock aquifers. But to answer the question, I think it has more to do with the way that the grain is treated, from the grinding to the milling, to the mashing, the fermenting, and the distilling, that really sets it apart. Rye is really difficult to deal with. It likes to foam. It's real sticky. It likes to flow over top of the fermenters. So learning how to handle it and really to extract the best flavor from the rye is something that takes a lot of work.
And it's not as though bourbon is easy, but for those distillers like yourself that make both a bourbon and a rye, it's more than just a little more difficult. It's quite a bit more difficult. I mean, there's a lot more, right?
It is, yeah. Corn's a pretty nice grain to work with in regards to milling, cooking, and fermenting. And but rye, like I said, it's very viscous. It likes to it gets real sticky. And in the still, it likes to foam and and rise up the still, so you have to distill it a little bit slower. But I'll tell you what, for those people out there that are bourbon nuts that haven't got on the rye whiskey train yet, I mean, there is some absolutely dynamite whiskey out in the market, including this one. That if you love bourbon, you got to give it a try. I think there's kind of an old train of thought about rye whiskey maybe being a lower quality whiskey in general, and that might have been the case back in the day, but right now, I mean, some of the rye whiskeys that are out there are just absolutely wonderful, especially the ones from Indiana.
Yes, yes, they truly are. And again, it's just like bourbon, the growth with rye whiskey has just been incredible. Have there been other states that have gone for a classification or designation like Indiana's about to get?
I believe so. I mean, I'm not a historian in this realm, but I know that I'm familiar with Empire Rye. So
Right, the Empire
rye
Rye
whiskey
from
made
New
from the
York.
state
Yeah,
of New York. So
right.
and so I know that there are some other, and rye has a pretty deep history in our country from the original colonized states. So there's a long, rich history of rye whiskey making in this country. It just so happens that a great portion of the great rye whiskey that's been made recently has been made in Indiana.
Yes, there has been so many ryes come from Indiana. And again, when you're watching Bourbon Blog Live, make sure wherever you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever it might be, make sure you like this, share this, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because we always like to be the first to have conversations like we're having with Bryan, so that you all know what's coming on the market. Question from Bryan Toner on YouTube: how do you inhibit the foaming? What do you do?
It's great. So we're gonna get into some fun stuff. I wish I could share. I've got a video on my phone of one of the first rye ferments that we completed, and I was talking to a great friend and colleague, mentor of mine, Pat Heist down at Wilderness Trail, and he said, "Bryan, your first rye whiskey is going to foam over the fermenter." And we had just talked about how to keep it not from foaming over, and I said, "Well, Pat, why are you telling me it's going to foam over? You just told me how not." He's like, "You just trust me, it will," and he was right. But there are some things that you can do in the mash process. It's called a protein rest, and essentially you bring the grain up to a certain temperature and you let it sit for a while. And what it does is it starts to break down some of those proteins. The proteins are what like to bind together and get sticky. And you then as fermentation happens, you're creating a lot of CO2, and that CO2 makes bubbles, and those bubbles grow on top of each other, and it likes to foam. But I'll tell you what, it's worth all that with the deliciousness of the whiskey that it makes.
It really is. I mean, there's sometimes, though I love bourbon and I always have, there's sometimes I'm more in a rye mood, and this rye is certainly a good one to have in the collection when you're wanting a good solid rye from Indiana that just has that right complexity. Tell me
what you're picking up on this one, Tom. I mean, this is my favorite part is to ask you about tasting notes, because I'm so awful at providing tasting notes. I know what I like, and I can describe them in my own terms, but not anyone else gets it whenever I start talking about what I'm experiencing.
Well, absolutely. And after a couple good pours, I'm getting some really nice barrel. I think that barrel against the rye is giving just a very mild, just a little kind of a creaminess with a little bit of clove. I often get clove on rye. I get some clove on this. I get some just a nice caramelization. Again, that zesty note, that kind of funky tropical zesty note, that's just sort of almost kind of what you get on some rums. I get sort of that beautiful zest, that spice here. And this is slightly buttery too. I mean, usually ryes have to be a little older to have that buttery mouthfeel, but that buttery flavor and mouthfeel are both there. So definitely spices, clove, butter, nice barrel, and it's well balanced. So, and again, both of these were at what percentage rye on the mash bill then on the two?
So we used two different mash bills for this. One of them has they both have 51% rye, and then they use some malt and some corn for the secondary grains on both of them.
Right.
I get some of that sweet cream too. That was one of the interesting tasting notes that kind of came across. And some of the ryes that are out there, a lot of the 95.5 rye mash bills, and the ones that are heavier on the rye, you get some of those real, I call them like dilly, like fresh dill, wintergreen kind of notes. You get a little bit of dill on this, but it's way lighter. But with this, I get that balance of a fresh cream. I get kind of like an orange zest, but for me, it's really light and nice and playful. It doesn't sit heavy on my palate at all.
Yeah, for 100 proof, exactly. That the proof is really nicely done on it, but it doesn't drink too warm, but it has some nice warmth on the back end. And it doesn't remind me of any particular rye I've had. I mean, it stands out in a class all its own.
So that's whenever you're blending whiskeys, for me, really, if you're familiar with our products, if you're not, go to hardtruthDistilling.com and check out our lineup. But we've really got a wide variety of products. I think now we've got, with this one, 18 products, 18 different spirits in the market. And so the great thing about that is it gives me an opportunity to whenever I'm coming up with new blends or new products, is I'm able to play a little bit. I can differentiate. I don't have to decide, what is my absolute, this is Hard Truth's rye profile, So what we're doing with this is I'm really taking this as a departure from our Sipes rye whiskey finished in the smoked barrel, which is really, deeply sweet with that dill characteristic in that smoked barrel.
Right.
It drinks so much different than this. So as we were doing this blend and used our tasting panel, that was really one of the things I wanted to do, was take this in a different direction and celebrate some other wonderful aspects of rye whiskey.
And you and any of y'all watching, legal drinking age, of course, can be there to celebrate on July 3rd, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the distillery. There's going to be festivities. What's going to be happening for your rye celebration?
So we've got some music. Like I said, State Representative Chris May will be there. There'll be some other state representatives. But if you haven't been onto the property, this kind of the celebration, I'll be signing some bottles and hanging out and meeting folks. So that'll be going on from 11 to 1. But really the Hard Truth Distilling Company is going to be alive on Saturday, July 3rd. It will be a busy place, so there'll be lots of different places to grab a drink, lots of places to get some good food. We've got a terrace bar. We've got our restaurant that seats about 300. And then the tours and tasting area. So there'll be a lot going on there that day. Tours, of course, at the distillery. We do side-by-side ATV tours out in the woods where, we drive and you drink. So our tour guides will take you out, and you have 4 different tastings along the way. And man, it's just a lot of fun. So, come out and join us. And if you want to get a bottle of history and watch Chris May sign a large version of the bill that we'll keep at the distillery, it'll be a pretty cool day. It's not every day you get to make some really cool Indiana history that celebrates the craftsmanship and artistry in the state of Indiana, celebrates promoting jobs and good business for the state of Indiana, but also you've got a product that you can take home and enjoy with you, share with your friends.
It's something that really is great for the world of whiskey and also for the state. July 3rd, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Hard Truth. I'm going to put the website up there once again. Whether you can get there on July 3rd or a future date, it's such a spectacular place. I mean, it's always evolving. You all have added a lot of area for the stage where there's performers. I mean, this has grown a lot, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got an area down below the restaurant where it could hold about 350 people, where we had live music all last year and we'll continue to have it this year. But that's been so well received that we're actually expanding that area. So we're going to make I think at the end of it, there will probably be about room for 700-800 folks to sit down there and listen to live music and get some nice drinks and some snacks and enjoy yourself. And I will say we are going to have a pretty cool announcement on July 3rd at this signing and celebration for Indiana Rye about an event that's going to be coming up that I can't say anything about until July 3rd, but it'll be pretty cool.
So there's going to be this and so much more to look forward to at Hard Truth Distilling Company. And, just thinking about, the work that went into this, to get this designation, it really took some work. You all, a lot of other people, you want to talk about that, how one goes about getting a designation like this, maybe?
Sure, yeah. So I have a few partners that I work with, and we all have the things that we really add to contribute to the business. And a couple of our partners, Jeff McCabe and Ed Ryan, really spearheaded this one. Ed had the idea, helped to draft up some of the language to bring to Chris May, and Jeff, has a great ability to work with our local officials and our state officials for the betterment of business in the state of Indiana and to celebrate good things. So those two guys really worked hard and got this done, and I really couldn't be more proud of what they did. I think it's good for the state of Indiana, and it's good for all of us.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I think Jeff he just left you a comment a moment ago.
Oh, yeah.
Brian's my personal idol. So we got God. Jeff, we appreciate you watching and everything you and Bryan, the whole team have done there is really incredible. It's so great for distilling, so great for Indiana, and I think that it'll inspire hopefully even more. I mean, there already are so many unique Indiana whiskeys, but this could really inspire a lot of other distilleries to do something unique and different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had our first kind of a roundtable discussion with some of the bigger distilleries in the state of Indiana to talk about some guild activities to get us together, and I introduced this idea to everyone, and everyone was really excited about it. So this is going to be definitely a rising tide floats all boats kind of situation, and the world's going to know about Indiana Rye Whiskey at the end of this for sure.
They absolutely are, and we appreciate everybody who's watching. I see a lot of y'all liking and sharing this. Keep on doing that. We like to support the distillers and these great whiskeys. Aaron, thanks, Aaron. Aaron watches a lot. Any progress on your smokehouse?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think last time we talked, Tom, we were discussing the Sipes smoked rye whiskey. Yes. That was the rye whiskey finished in a smoked barrel. So for those of you who don't know about it, we worked on a project a year and a half ago or so where I went to our barrel, our cooper, and I said, hey, it's Andrew Weabrink at Independent Stave. Those guys are outstanding. And I said, Andrew, I really want to figure out how to get smoke in my whiskey without smoking grains. What can you do from a barrel standpoint? And it just so happened at that time he was working on some experimentation in his research lab, on hardwood smoked barrels. So, a whiskey barrel starts out with white oak. It's sometimes often toasted. The staves are air dried, toasted, and then they actually char it or light it on fire on the inside. So there's already, always a little bit of a smoke characteristic to whiskeys just because of that burning process. But typically it's very faint and it goes away with the volume of whiskey that's in there in the amount of time. So what he was working on was doing a toast and char, and then actually taking hardwood smoke and physically smoking the inside of the barrel with maplewood smoke, applewood smoke, and hickory smoke. And so he said, I'm going to send you a few barrels that I've been working with, and I'll let you play around with it. So what we did was we did a blend of a nice bourbon whiskey and a rye whiskey, and rested those whiskeys in these smoked barrels as a secondary, like a double oak kind of situation. And what we found was just the layers of complexity and depth And then that really nice, I describe it as almost like, the morning when you wake up from camping and your campfire is just still embers or smoking a little bit. You throw a couple logs on there and that smoke comes up. That's the kind of smoke impact that we get from this. And so we've released those two whiskeys, and they're just doing great out in the market. So to answer Aaron's question, we've got around. I wish I could share. I'm using my phone to do this. I wish I could share some pictures, but we are actually building a smokehouse on Hard Truth Distilling Company's property. It's being built from a 100-year-old tobacco barn that was taken down in the southern part of the state.
Wow.
And so we're actually building this smokehouse. We're going to build rails that go from the distillery. We're going to roll the barrels into it, smoke the barrels ourselves in our own smokehouse. And if I can get away with it, I'm going to hang a couple hams up there too, and do a couple of things in the smokehouse to build out a nice experience.
I like it.
Oh, yeah. So here's my dream. So all right, so you come to visit Hard Truth Distilling Company, and you go on America's Original Barrel Smoked Whiskey, which we own that mark. You go on America's Original Barrel Smoked Whiskey tour. Go into the smokehouse. You get to help smoke a couple barrels, and then we have a nice little tray of smoked country ham, maybe some melon, maybe some biscuits with sorghum molasses. Really make a good tasting experience out of it. So that's kind of my vision on that.
It's going to be everything in one place.
The smokehouse the smokehouse is being built. It'll be done, I'd say, in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
So really soon, we'll be able to see the smokehouse.
Oh, yeah.
We got the rye whiskey coming, festivals coming up.
Yeah.
Probably even from what I've heard you say, probably even some other releases before the end of the year, right?
Absolutely. So I've got definitely 3 that are solid that will be 3 new releases by the end of the year, not including this Indiana Rye, with one of those likely being one of our own whiskeys that we laid down early in 2018, when we first started the distillery in 2018. So that's really what I'm the most excited about, probably, of anything that we've done, is to share some of our whiskey that we distilled when we first got the stills going. It's wonderful. In fact, Tom, you're going to get to try some of it when you and I hang out that day on the 3rd. I'm gonna line up some great whiskeys for us to do about. We'll call it evaluating.
Well, I look forward to it, my friend. We'll be evaluating some, and it'll be great to see you, Bryan, on July 3rd. And hopefully anybody watching that can get there to Nashville, Indiana, again, come for the celebration. Your first chance to get a bottle of this and so many other things happening. This new Indiana Rye whiskey that has the Indiana flag on the back and has it celebrates the designation of the new Indiana Rye. I'm going to put up the website one more time. Check out these great folks, Hard Truth Distilling Company, on this website, hardtruthdistilling.com.
And if you want to tour that day, I would go to our tour page now and get yourself signed up, because the tours get booked up really, really far in advance.
This is going to be a busy day. I mean, this is going to be a lot of people coming out to celebrate this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've been having just record weekends out there, and every time we have more people, we just add more outdoor space, so that one of Jeff's biggest pet peeves, and one thing that the partners really pride themselves on, is making sure that when people are on our property, they're having a good time. And the thing that Jeff hates more than anything, and I'm sure he's still listening, is to see somebody waiting for a drink that can't get themselves a drink. So sometimes Jeff will actually go around to the lines of people waiting for a drink, and just with serving trays of cold beers or cocktails, and just hand them out to make sure everybody's got something to drink.
That is awesome. You all always make sure everyone's taken care of, that everyone has a great time. It is such a unique experience, and I can't say it enough. If you don't go on July 3rd, go at some point. You're going to love it. So many great people watching: Courtney, Aaron, Bryan. We even see I even see some fellow distillers. Alan Bishop is watching and says, who's your effing proud? So thank you, Alan.
Oh, man. I love Alan. And Alan, you and I still, if you want to get on here, and you and I still got to duke it out about column still whiskey versus pot still whiskey, buddy. So
we could do a debate sometime, right? We'll do a
that's
whiskey
it.
debate.
You can moderate it, Tom. We can.
That's right. You can sit back, drink, and listen.
Awesome.
This is great. Thank you so much for letting us try this. Really well done. This is such a delicious whiskey. Again, limited edition at first, but we will probably see more of it coming after this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really believe in this rye whiskey, and we're happy to share it with the state, fellow Hoosiers and other people in the U.S. So
incredible. Well, this is quite well done, and Kimberly says Alan says he's game.
Yes, nice.
There you go.
Nice.
So, well, everybody watching tonight, thank you. This will be up permanently on the channel you watched it on. As always, make sure you like it, share it, and it will also be up on our podcast channel, which you can find wherever you watch podcast or right there at that link. Bryan, my friend, look forward to seeing you. This will be a lot of fun to see you.
Hey, Tom, thank you so much, and thanks for helping to get the word out about Indiana Rye and about Hard Truth's Indiana Rye and about the amazing distillers that are making some of the best whiskey in the world right here in the state of Indiana. So thank you. Really cheers, my friend. Can't wait to see you on the 3rd. All right.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Tom.
Thanks.